Farming is a major occupation for people living in rural Ghana. Like a family jewel, it is passed on from one generation to the other. And Auntie Ashoko is one such person. She has been engaged in commercial farming for the past 40 years and still going strong. She has a motivation for keeping her to this time, and we'll be engaging her in a conversation to tell us about how she managed to get this far. Her parents were farmers, and as is customary in farming communities, she started helping her parents out on their farms at a tender age. Auntie Ashoko's day on the farm begins at 6 in the morning, after ensuring her grandchildren are well catered for. Not only is she a crop farmer, she's also involved in animal husbandry. But this has not been easy for her, being a breadwinner for her family.
School fees can be low dal home bekekuna ni personal halish keko kekayini
no jinoni wo bo hewale ni ka feel
fane no jinoni wo me hewale ajake ni ko otuno na no ko yemi ba o na hewale.
All right, Auntie Ashoko says that her motivation comes from the fact that she's able to use the proceeds from these things that she does to support her family, her grandchildren and her children who are still in school and all that. So this is her source of motivation. She then heads to the farm, which is some kilometers away, and would have to make that journey by foot each day. But on this day, Auntie Ashoko says she is happy because her journey is cut short with her vehicle around. She begins her daily farm routine with weeding of her farm for at least 2 hours. This is to ensure crop yield is maximized. But I dare not try my hands at Auntie Ashoko's routine of weeding because the last time I tried, my waist almost stiffened. Despite all her successes, the 2010 Abokobi Bears farmer has concerns.
Lindu duade 14 ye. Fair yeshpon hun nembo she 40 hun gbadu chuena. Agbene shipon ekome te ye jeme. He miss money in Kadu Abilia don Kabadu Duade.
She's also got some challenges, that's what she's saying. That she plants the crops and then termites comes and then destroys them. And so that's one major problem, and she's hoping that she will have help to be able to resolve this particular issue. She also had this advice for the youth.
Mofe monga oblaye oblahin nimba ake ameka nye gbehe pena me ho gbehe ni shimo mi ni tumo se na mo yemi wo ewa mo shika nyombo jobo ni nyombo ne no du ni ehie bodi ate ko ho oba na mishe wa no mi wo oblahin ko oblaye ke ye fenga ake amemo okwa ni tumo mi jogbang ni ka me hie mi wo se ba hin eham.
All right. What Auntie Ashoko is saying is that she's urging the young ones who are now coming to stop begging on the streets and stop doing all sort of nefarious activities on the streets and come into farming, because it has supported her all this time, and that can help them upgrade themselves in future. She also sees to it that all the animals are catered for with the help of her grandchild Ninai. Already, just like in all farming communities, there is a succession plan for this family. She live a feel call o grandma babia.
Can bawala can ha ameni can bear me train.
Chomo mi no to of ka juda.
Makwakolo.
Okay. Nisai says he always wakes up in the morning, come with the grandma to this particular farm to take care of the animals, and his interest is in animal farming, and so he would like to take charge of this particular business when the grandma is no more. You see, this is a pen of a grass cutter. I will try to see if I can capture it and see what they go through each morning and each day that they come to attend to these animals. Can you see that? I was nearly bitten by that animal. It is never easy to go through such a routine every day. These animals, as small as you see them, they are very wild. Imanolante, Abokobi, Accra, reporting for Joy News.
So on my banner this morning, we're looking at harvest, post-harvest losses. And we all know Farmers Day is on Friday, and ahead of the 24th, 13th Farmers Day, which falls on Friday, we have a lineup of guests that will be put on the show of harvest loss in that perspective. Ghana has the land labor to be in the net of exporters, and yet each year the number of food imports rises. Approximately 30 to 50% of all food produced, be it crops, livestock or fisheries, does not get into the end consumer. And what are the causes of these losses and how do we combat them? In East South Asia, post losses is the main staple rice, and it's as low as 1 to 2%. I mean, can we get to this stage? So we'll discuss this issue on my banner this one. We'll go over to from Plains, where Adelaide Arthur, our agri special correspondent, is trying to quantify the losses of a young farmer who plants yam and maize, two staples of our country. And welcome, we have our guest here, Philip Aboyori. That's right? Yeah, Aboyori. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let's first look at the production or pre-production, where people taking pains, they even go in to the banks for loans, and they don't give it to them. They use their own resources in doing it, and most people don't want to go into farming because they feel, if I go for the loan now, the bank is going to be on my neck and I wouldn't be able to pay. So hence they won't go into farming at all. What would you say about that?
I would say that it's a structural challenge, and though agriculture is a very lucrative venture, it's a venture that you could start with minimum capital. The challenges in it are enormous. And the reasons being that the systems that are supposed to be in place are not fully in place. Take, for example, a smallholder farmer who, as I was watching the TV, I saw that you visited a farmer at Obokobi, and saw that that farmer is using a cutlass to do hair operations, a woman. Now, how much ground can that farmer cover with the cutlass? And you could see the maize behind her. You could see that the plant population of the maize is very low. Though she has got it, I mean, she's been able to clear the farm.
The banks are unwilling to even help them.
It's not even credit. We need to start from the basics. So the plant population in that farm is low. So if she harvests, she's going to get a low yield. Why? It's lack of technology, because that woman should have got a planter, a hand-moving planter to plant a maize. You get the point? She should have got at least, her farm should have been cleared for her and leveled. So the land has already been, cleared for her. So once you come into the farm, you have less to do, and then technology is being applied. Now, relating to going to the bank for a loan, yes, good. Agricultural financing is different from any other kind of financing because of the nature of agriculture itself. But here in this country, agricultural finance is also being viewed as a normal business where you go in and they'll give you the same terms as any other credit that you are going to acquire. But don't forget that you need to plant, you need to harvest, you need to even process, and perhaps you need to sell. And that may take you a whole year. While somebody who is going to trade can come today and pick up the money and within 30 days can pay you, or 60 days or 90 days can pay you back. So these are the challenges. So even if the loan is even available, you have to pay it at a particular period that even perhaps you have not harvested. Or you have to pay it at a particular period that perhaps you haven't been able to even adjust yourself to be able to get a good price. So these are all issues that mitigate against farmers being able to get loans. Even if they are available, they are expensive. And even they are not even available because In total average credit lending that the banks are doing in this country, it's only 5% that goes to agriculture. And statistics say that even only 1% go for production and the rest is for trade. So if you look at that imbalance, then definitely you realize that it's a very difficult situation for farmers.
Okay, so we've been joined in the studio, Mr. Edward Karewi. He is a... Karwe.
Yes.
Okay, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Now we're looking at the challenges involved in the production of farming. What, in your opinion, are the challenges, basic challenges when it comes to that?
Well, thanks very much. These challenges are quite simple challenges. We have a challenge of water. And water here will mean the amount of rain that will be available and then how it is spread. So in this case, the major challenge in terms of water would be lack of irrigation. Because here we have a country where about 40% of the land space is savanna. And then they have only one season. And that is one rainy season. So if you want to have meaningful agriculture, certainly, then you must have irrigation.
Yeah.
So irrigation is major, and it's also indeed going to define agriculture in the future because of the climatic changes, where we have erratic rains and no rains at all, long droughts, and so on. So that is very major. And Mr. Bayori has already talked about the financing aspect. You know, we indeed do not think that agriculture is a specialized area and want to treat it like any other sector. But if you look at just production aspect, you produce to get to the end user. And all those have to be factored in when you are doing financing for a particular business. Because what is going to be the market for the future? You need to guarantee people, and so that the investor can also invest, and those who is lending the money could also lend the money. So when we have challenges in terms of financing, it's basically because people are not sure about what will be the future when you even produce. Apart from that, because it is when you are able to sell the end product that you can talk about repaying the loan and even or the cost of production, and then possibly make profit. But if that opportunity is not there, then certainly everybody will be skeptical when it comes to financing agriculture.
Now you've produced, I mean, you've gone through the pre-production period, you've produced. Let's go to post-production, where you've taken the pains. I didn't even went to the bank for the loan. You've given the loan already. You've established everything, and then you are harvesting now. Let's look at the proper storage systems that we have. You realize that about 80% of our crops go to waste, and then we just sell 20%. Or you find people coming in saying, I want to buy it at this price, but the farmer says, no, I went for the loan at this quantity and I want to sell at that. So how do we match up all these lapses? I'll start with you, Philip.
You've asked a very difficult question. Yeah. These are the issues. You see, from production, you need to do post-harvest management. And post-harvest management means that you have to harvest. You must at least dry or freeze that product, and then transport that product to a particular center before it gets to the consumer.
Come to transportation.
That is a part of the post-harvest.
Yes.
Now, the duty of the farmer originally should have been that he produces at farm gate, if the systems were in place. The duty of another person is there. Somebody will come and purchase that product from the farmer, and then another person will transport, and it goes to a wholesale, and then it is distributed. That is the most ideal situation. But in our case, what happens is that after you have produced to harvest, you may be manually harvesting, which you are losing some grains. You may also, at the end of the day, after you have harvested, you don't have a dryer to be able to dry the grains to a moisture level that you can store. So within that process, you heap them, and then you lose. At the end of the day, you have lost 40% of what you have grown already in the farm gate. Now, when it comes to that particular situation, you realize that the farmer needs to invest more money to have been able to carve those 40% post-harvest losses. That will mean that you must have a pack house, you must also have a dryer, You must also even would have had the harvesting equipment to reduce the losses from harvest period, which the farmer do not have. So these are the challenges. So before the farmer ends with the production, he is already having only 60% produce in his hand. Then when it comes to what we call standardization, in actual fact, the farmer, when he's plowing his land with a tractor, he is plowing it in acres. When he's buying agrochemicals, it is in liters. When he buys fertilizer, it is in kilograms. But when the farmer finishes harvesting his crops, the crops are measured and purchased by visualization. That means that the farmer cannot say my maize, 1 kilo of my maize is this cost, or 1 kilo of my tomatoes is this cost. Somebody is going to come there with a box and say, look, I'm going to give you this price. And that is one of the issues that, is mitigating against agricultural production, making the farmers to lose, because you need to know, as part of costing to collect, to collect a loan, you need to factor in what you are going, what price you are going to sell. So if at the end of the day, you finish harvesting and then you cannot control the price to say, look, this is how much I'll sell, and somebody else needs to tell you the price, then there is an issue.
No,
so the law...
Edward, but you realize that if I'm a buyer, I'm going to buy the crops, I go and I say, I want to take it for maybe 10 cedis. And then you going in for the loan say, oh no, it should be 20 cedis.
It is wrong.
Or something. That is wrong.
It is wrong, because, look, in an advanced situation, when we import rice, it's 25 kilos, 1 kilo, you go to the market. If you look at the tin tomato, anything at all, even fresh vegetables packed, they are packed in kilograms. In our country, we buy things, you go to the market, it's an alonka where they put papers under and they have put tomatoes high. That is an unfair trade practices. And we have a law on standardization, which we must enforce. So we need to quickly enforce this law to make sure, even you as a consumer, you budget by the end of the month how much you want to spend on food. You should have known the kilograms of rice you eat. You should have known the kilograms of chicken, everything you need to know. But in this case, you are just going to walk into the market with some money in your pocket. At the end of the day, the money is finished. You bought something very small. The farmer has not benefited. You, the consumer, have not benefited. And even the trader herself, I think she hasn't benefited, because before she sent those products, she has also lost another 40%. So everybody is passing the inefficiency of the cost of inefficiency to another person. So the best is for us now to enforce the law of standardization and say, look, in our country, you can't sell things without weighing them. So that if I'm going to the market or I'm going to the farm gate, the farmer knows that this is the price, though it's not price control, but the farmer knows that a kilo of rice is this cost. This is the cost of tomatoes and pepper. When we get to that point,
we are not there yet.
We need to quickly do it.
Yes, so how do we get there?
Look, that is why we have to import more, because at the end of the day, if a farmer knows that I'm going to go and produce and I'll be having the produce in my hand, I will not get more, I won't be able to, to get good market. People are reluctant to increase their acreages. People are reluctant to invest. And it's also creating a problem for the banks to be able to be sure that at the end of the day, will you get the market if they give you the money? So we need to give that assurance. We need to ensure that these systems are in place. Then thirdly, we talk about, major infrastructure. We need to also ensure that there are major infrastructural developments, such as storage systems within the communities, dryers, sorters. Even in corn, for instance, when you are harvesting corn, you have to grade the corn 3 times. You need to have grade A, grade B, grade C. Grade A is for human consumption. Grade B and C are for livestock and poultry consumption. We don't do that. So value for money is not there in the industry. That is a very important thing to be done. And when you do this, then investors are going to see that, yes, the system is very holistic. If I'm going to invest in, I know that definitely I am sure of what I'm going to get. But for now, though people are investing, it's just because they believe that they have to. We as farmers cannot come out from farming because that is the profession we have. But it is very difficult because of the situation we have. The rules are not being enforced, and we have to struggle, and competition is at hand. We are not being subsidized about almost 50 or 60%. But wherever we are getting the imports from, they are subsidized, even to export to us, whilst we are only subsidized not less than 2-3%. So there are issues.
Let's look at the quality of variety. You realize that sometimes their products are rejected because they will tell them it doesn't meet the standard. Why is that?
Yeah, standardization ensures predictability. And predictability is key to moving forward. All of us, when we set off, we knew we're coming to this place. We knew the destination. and we made our way to this place. Otherwise, we could have passed to other places. So standardization is very key, and like Mr. Bayor had just indicated, the quality of food also is determined by standardization and the quest of the people to live a certain lifestyle. I think that it may not necessarily be the farmer who has to standardize. No. Otherwise you are overburdening the farmer. We have bodies that are supposed to ensure that standards are made, and then quality is also set. All these institutions probably are not strong enough to do what they are supposed to do. Now, if we don't do that, we continue to be rudimental. And it's not by accident that we are still rudimental in our agriculture. Rudimental not because we use simple tools, but also the way we treat our produce. You go to the market, you find everything lying on the floor, and there's no one to even caution them or ensure that that does not happen. So quality is then compromised. And we know that when quality is compromised, it has health implications and as well as economic implications.
Let me just say this. You realize that you go to a village where a farmer and his children, they're going to the farm to do whatever they have to do on their farms, and then they plant, they harvest, and that's what they know. They don't know of any modern things to use, or modern styles, or modern ways. So they are stick to a particular thing, and hence it affects the variety of quality of variety.
And that is why Philip did indicate here that you can't be a jack of all trades. The farmer must be made to produce. When it comes to processing, when it comes to storage, that should be someone's business. We have to regulate the way business is done. There are people who do not just manufacture their own fabric. They wait and take the fabric and then they turn it into clothing for us. And that is what the farmer agriculture needs to also be. Those who are producing should concentrate on the production. How it is going to be stored should be someone's business. And that is why there is the need for policy framework. And the policy framework could be a mixture of rules and regulations which are to be enforced strictly. Some could also be promotional in nature. If you do this, there are advantages to it, and then people will adapt them because they can access certain benefits because as they apply certain rules. We need to do this. And if you leave this to the example you've given, to the old lady and the daughter or son in the village, what do they know about it? No. So we can't continue to talk about agriculture as if it's no one's business, yet we expect it to transform. And you can see that even in this country, all the other sectors that have transformed, there have been deliberate policies over the years that have made them to be where they are.
So should I say policies in agriculture are not that effective in our system? Would I say that?
Certainly, it's not so encouraging. The policies are not encouraging. Even those that are there, enforcement or implementation is a problem. So, is there any policy for standardization? One would say yes. Who is responsible for that? How far have we gone with the implementation so that if there's need for improvement, we can improve upon it? These are the challenges and the realities. It is not just about the policy also. It's also about implementation, enforcing the policies, and making sure that people adapt to those policies. If that is not done, we will continue to be rudimental will continue to see agriculture the form that it is.
Now, we know or we heard that, let me just be straight, it loses about 700,000 cedis each year through losses. Now, how extensive are the losses in Ghana?
I think that is just minimal because if we look at...
it's more than 700,000.
When we're looking at total agricultural GDP, it means 40% of agricultural GDP is lost to post-harvest losses. So that is what it means. So you can calculate that. And that is a very huge... If we even were able to reduce those post-harvest losses already, that means that we can reduce... If we reduce 30%, then it means that we can reduce 30% of imports. So what we are even having in our hand, we are not able to control. And there's a need for a huge investment into that, into major infrastructure. That should have been done by the farmers, but we don't have the capacity. Our capacity have not been built for us to be able to store food. Our capacity have not been built for us to be able to, to do our own standardization. So there's a need for some public support in this direction so that at the end of the day, the farmers who produce, we will be able to get aggregators to pick up from the farmers, do all the process of drying and then also grading and then wholesale so that at least we will have a holistic market system. When these systems are in place, you could have a stock exchange, what they call a commodity exchange, where people can now look that, oh, I'm going to invest in the commodity exchange because I believe that next year maize price will go to 2 cedis. You get the point. But you see, if you have this sporadic nature of pricing, and there's you go into the market or even go to the farm gate and there's that imbalance, it will be very difficult to be able to manage a full, commodity exchange, which we are trying to do. So the law of standardization must be enforced, and the code of ethics even within.
So who should handle? Is it a private or government, public, or who should handle that?
You have public agencies that has to enforce these rules, and I think the Ghana Standard Board is one. Standards in Ghana, which must be here. There are laws and regulations that must be enforced. So that must be done. That look, we should do all our trade in agriculture by measuring the standardizing, so that is one. And if you don't, if the law and the regulations will tell who has to enforce that, that must be done. That is the first thing we need to do. And if that is done, it will help go a long way to really improve in the agricultural sector. The third thing we need to do is agricultural financing. You see, private sector need money to work with. So if there is limited resources, money, there will be limited room for people to expand. There will be limited room for people to improve over what they do. So we need to be able to have access to short, medium, and long-term financing. And this will also allow farmers who really want to move forward to be able to get medium-term or even long-term loans to be able to build infrastructure. Because if you are building infrastructure, you can't take your capital that you are using to farm and build a whole, what do you call it, a storage facility. Then you have no money to go and produce. So these issues need to be worked out to a point that we need to even do a holistic, give grants to our farmers. Because if you look at the economic imbalances over the years, we have not cushioned our farmers enough to be able to let them stand the challenge of time. So you see the farmers producing today, the crop, if it is maize, next year, then the production quantity reduces because one, they believe that the market has been flooded. You get the point. So these are issues, and if we do standardization, you can see that in our we don't have a vibrant livestock industry because we're not taking we are not grading. If we're grading, the grade B and C of the waste will come to livestock. Thirdly, we would have also been able to get it.
We'll delve into livestock tomorrow.
We would have also the farmer can also benefit from even the waste, the straw. We currently burn all straw that we produce from maize, and rice, because we don't have the equipment to be able to preserve that straw. That straw would have been preserved purposely for our livestock. And all this need to be done so that at least our economy in agriculture will expand. We'll be able to employ. Agriculture is science. And currently, you can see that science and technology has come to play in agriculture, that if we don't introduce it and we don't really invest into it, it means that we'll continue the way we are, and we will now even be importing more than we used to do. And we cannot also be able to employ our young people because they will not pick up cutlasses like what you saw the woman and the daughter doing. Somebody who has gone to learn technically and has science knowledge to be able to improve his livelihood and also to improve society, he comes home and he can't go to a bank to be able to get money to be able to buy equipment. He has to go and take a cutlass. You see, it will be impossible. So we need to do that. The young technical people need to take up the sector. We can create a system that allows them to even get machines and go to the community where this woman is, buy the produce and process them. You know, you get the point. They can also offer agronomical services. They can have that particular, technical knowledge that can be distributed independently and benefit from. But if they have to do this and there's no market and even increased production comes, what will happen?
So let's look at specifics. Education, Edward. How do we, or how should our extension officers educate our farmers?
Well, that is, we need to have what do we want agriculture to be in future? The next 10 years, what do we want agriculture to be? When we have that global picture, then we then know what we are going to do and how it should be done. It isn't that this country has not had the benefit of knowing how it should be done. We've done it before. It's just that we are simply not replicating. Because if you look at, and I'm using this to respond to the
but how often
education.
do they even educate them? That's the point.
If you take agriculture, it's amorphous.
Yeah.
Agriculture is amorphous. Which part of agriculture are you talking about? You need to segment it. We have cocoa. And you see, cocoa farmers are educated. What type of education are we talking about? Education that is relevant to their production. And I believe cocoa farmers have a very good education on how to produce cocoa. Again, the cocoa farmer does not think about market. You produce, someone will come.
Yeah.
The cocoa farmer does not decide what type of chemical should be put there. There are institutions that are researching into cocoa, pest, diseases, and then the type of chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers that are needed for that. The cocoa farmer also knows that when you produce, at least this is how much I'll get. Price is determined already, is predetermined. What they can only hope is increment in it, but they never think about the price coming down because there's predetermined price. This is supposed to be replicated. For instance, we can take one of the other crops like rice, cotton, what have you, poultry, and then say that this is how we want it to be. You produce the machines. What will have the machines for processing, for this, for that. And I mean, when we do this, then we then invite the private sector. But we automatically follow there. The private sector, there are two ways. You can allow the private sector to lead or guide them, and they will do what it is. It reinforces. Yeah. So it isn't just like, so when you talk about education, do you move to the village and just give what type of education? You give education specific to the needs of the farmer. So if it is tomato farmers, you get the extension officers to give them specific knowledge for production of tomato. When they produce this too, they don't have the problem of taking it to the market center. It is picked at the farm gate because the cost of transporting tomatoes to where it is needed is very, very expensive. So that's one. Then the education goes on. Then once you transport it, you then tell them, we need this quality. Who provides the seed? We need to improve. Then you bring in the improved seeds. But if you allow the farmer to look for his or her own seeds, then certainly this will be the problem. So the education is not going to be like the classroom type of education. You go and organize them in public and you do that. But the extension officers must segment them and deal with them on how to produce what they need. Tomato, rice, cocoa, this and that. And it is doable.
So until we have specific implementations, the losses will still increase?
Because all of us are talking about agriculture.
Okay.
Meanwhile, it seems we are doing little. Of course, the resources we are pumping into it, to some extent, we may probably not be getting value for money. Because we just throw it in there, we are not segmenting it. If we do things separately, because it's a big area encompassing so many faculties, and you need to break them down.
But the amazing thing is a lot of this we are talking agriculture because Farmers Day is this Friday. So I have Edward Karawi. Karwe.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Edward Karwe. He's the Deputy Secretary General for Great Ghana Workers Union. And Philip Abayori. I got it, yes. President National Farmers and Fishers Awards. He won the award. Thank you very much for being in the studio this morning. I hope you see you tomorrow. Something come again soon. All right, so that's it for my banner. We'll see you again. Stay on. Be right back.